Hello, everyone. This is Pooka, and welcome to the top four from the Wisconsin State Championship. On the left, we have Colin P, a player from the Chicago area, going up against another Chicago player, Richard Lucas. We have featured him from the Illinois State Championship as well. He lost a heartbreaking game to Ross Coffin at the Illinois State Championship in the top four, and he's back again for the second week in a row in the top four. He's having quite a run here, and we'll see what happens in this exciting matchup. Now, Mr. Lucas here is going to be playing a big basic deck. Mewtwo, Landorus, Tornadus. You can see he discards the Landorus and the fighting. He is going for the turn one win here. He's putting down the Tornadus EX. If he can get a switch and a double colorless and a stadium, and there's the switch. He just needs a double colorless and a stadium. He can blow through for the win. Does he draw it? Looks like nope. Looks like Colin will survive for the turn. He's got to breathe in a sigh of relief there. Poor little Squirtle will survive. And Mr. Lucas will just attach. Colin leans back in his chair, goes, whoof, I get a turn. We'll see if Mr. Lucas decides to play this Ultra Ball as well. Probably won't end up doing that because there's too much stuff he wants to keep in his hand. And he passes, and Colin will survive at least the first onslaught here. Now, as you can see from that Squirtle, Colin is playing a Blastoise deck, and he is using it with Keldeo EX and also Black Kyurem EX. The one with Black Ballista does 200 damage. Of all the matchups for the big basic deck, I actually think that Blastoise has to be one of the hardest, if not the hardest one. If Colin can manage to set up at any point, all it takes is just a Black Ballista, and then there's really nothing in that big basic deck that can deal with that 180 hit point monstrous dragon Pokemon that can just do 200, knock out an EX in one hit, and then you can use Blastoise's Deluge to power that thing up every single turn and just do 200, 200, and the game realistically can be over in 3 turns once that thing comes out. So this is not a good matchup for the big basic deck just because it has to 2-hit knock out that Black Kyurem EX. And obviously when you have to knock it out in 2 hits, and he does 200 every turn, well, you can do the math there. Things usually don't work out very well. So we have to look out for that if Colin can set up. He is Ultra Balling away his entire hand because he has that Tropical Beach out there. That will allow him to draw 7 cards for the turn. He's also going to grab a Keldeo EX so he can rush in and force Mr. Lucas to have a catcher to knock out a Squirtle. Very smart of Colin to go for a second Squirtle this turn because there's pretty much no chance of one Squirtle surviving next turn. He needs one to evolve into Blastoise next turn, and you always need 2 Squirtles down against this big basic deck. That's one of the ways they can win, just kind of overwhelm you early on in the game. And Colin realizes this, goes for a second Squirtle, rushes in with his Keldeo. He's going to force Mr. Lucas to have a catcher and an energy to knock out a Squirtle this turn, and we'll see if indeed he does. So we're going to see an energy retrieval. It's an interesting card in that deck. I don't see that very often. It has synergy with Landorus EX, so kind of a cute card to put in there. Maybe you play that in place of, 1 energy or something like that. And we're going to have a catcher onto that Squirtle. And since Colin already put the stadium in play for Mr. Lucas, he actually doesn't even need to put a stadium out there. And Blow Through already does that 60 damage that he needs. We're going to see an Ultra Ball discarding another Landorus EX. A very smart move by Mr. Lucas, just discarding the Landorus EXs. They are weak to water, so it's very simple for a Keldeo EX to just get 3 energy and Secret Sword it for a knockout. That's 2 prizes you just give up for no reason. So definitely smart move not benching that thing because it is weak to water. He is going with a straight-on Tornadus and Mewtwo attack, which is definitely the way you have to go in this matchup. And we'll see. I don't know. Looks like he shuffles in a card the wrong way. Reveals a Hypnotoxic Laser, but we all knew he played that, right? All the big basic decks play that. He's going to play Burbank City Gym. He's going to play Laser. And here we have a Bianca for 6. So Bianca is doing pretty well for Mr. Lucas so far. Normally, we can see players struggling and only draw like 2 or 3 cards, but right there he was able to play his whole hand down and then got to draw a fresh 6. He counters the Tropical Beach there with his own Burbank City Gym, and we're going to have a blow through for a knockout. So Mr. Lucas is definitely going to put on some pressure here. We'll see if Colin can get his Blastoise out this turn. That is a big deal if he can. If he cannot, Mr. Lucas will target down that Squirtle again, knock it out. And if Colin cannot get Blastoise out to use Deluge this game, he certainly will not win. There's just no way in this day and age with Hypnotoxic Laser and the strength of that big basic deck. There's no way a manually attaching Keldeo Black Kyurem deck is going to win. And we do see a Skyla here, and I believe a Computer Search in Colin's hand. Looks like he's going to Skyla for a Heavy Ball. That's a card players have been using more often now, since it can grab either Blastoise or Black Kyurem EX. You can grab a Pokemon with 3 retreat cost or more, and Blastoise, of course, has a 4 retreat cost. Black Kyurem has a 3 retreat cost, so it gives you some versatility, whereas in the past, it really only grabbed Blastoise, so now it's a little more worthwhile. But, yeah, so Colin grabbed a Blastoise. I'm sure he's going to Rare Candy the Blastoise this turn. He's going to grab another Squirtle with his Level Ball as well. I think he's actually doing this just to get a Squirtle out of his deck, so he can Computer Search, discard a Squirtle, and that's one less dead card he'll draw as the game progresses. Once you have Blastoise out, it's really difficult to knock out, especially for the deck that Mr. Lucas is playing, because, his deck kind of maxes out at 100 damage, unless he goes with Landorus EX, which is suicide, as we have said earlier, since it's weak to water. So, if Mr. Lucas, sure, he can waste 2 catchers, because, he can catcher up Blastoise, hit it, and then Colin's just going to rush in, and then Mr. Lucas is going to have to catcher again and knock out the Blastoise. So Colin just assumes, you know what, that's just not going to happen, so I'm going to discard a Squirtle here, so I don't have to draw that later. So a very subtle thing there, but as the game progresses, when you have stuff like N, it turns out to be very intelligent, and every little thing matters in this game. So Colin's going to rush in with his Keldeo EX. He does have the Rare Candy and the Blastoise, puts down his Black Kyurem EX with a Lightning Energy, and we'll see what else he has here. Unless he has like a Juniper or something, this may not be too good for him. He's going to catcher a Mewtwo here, and he's got 1 card left. So I wonder what that 1 card is. I think it's a Juniper, because he did Computer Search and get the Blastoise out. I don't think he would put himself in top deck mode like that unless he really, really had to. So I'm going to assume that last card is a Professor Juniper. He'll be able to draw 7 fresh cards next turn and maybe get the ball rolling. Now there we see that Hypnotoxic Laser going to poison and put the Keldeo EX to sleep. So that sleep flip could be huge on the following turn if Colin loses that Keldeo EX to, to sleep. If you're asleep, you cannot retreat. And when you're poisoned with the Burbank City Gym in play, of course, you take 30 in between turns. That is just very, very painful. We do see an Energy Switch and an attachment onto Mr. Lucas's active Mewtwo EX here. And another Bianca. Looks like Bianca is his supporter of choice in this deck. He plays at least 3. We don't see that too often. Looks like that is what he's playing in this deck. Wonder if he plays 4. Guess we'll find out. And he's just going to settle for an X-Ball for 40, but with the 30 extra damage from Burbank, that's actually just fine. It sets up for a Power Blast later, or I guess even an X-Ball from Mewtwo at some point. And if the Keldeo stays active and doesn't retreat and just keeps getting hit by Burbank and Poison, then Mewtwo can actually just X-Ball for 40 again, and that actually adds up perfectly to get a knockout. 90 plus 80 with the Poison and the 2 X-Balls. Looks like we're having some difficulties here. There was a ruling at this tournament that if you rolled a die or flipped a coin, it has to land inside of your play area. And I guess they're saying since it landed outside of Colin's prizes, it was not in his play area. So they're actually going to make him reflip this. Now this seems like a very petty ruling, like a very, I don't know about this one. Because, it's clearly on the table. It even landed on the playmat. And to make things even worse, it landed inside of Mr. Lucas's prizes. But no, they're going to make him reflip. and he gets a Tails. Stays asleep, and that has to be very frustrating actually for Colin since he did flip heads. It's like a very relieving thing. Like, oh, I woke up from the poison, or I woke up from the sleep. I don't have to worry about getting knocked out by poison. And oops, no, you got to reflip, and then you get Tails. That can be very aggravating. Little things like this can add up at tournaments. Um, we tend to overlook the mental aspect of the game when we're kind of looking at these games on camera. We like to sit back and analyze them and think we can nitpick every single move that someone does wrong, but there are nerves at play here. People get very nervous, get frustrated by things like that, and I wouldn't blame Colin if he did indeed get frustrated by that because that I mean, and that's a game-changing thing there. It seemed like a minuscule kind of a ruling there that just kind of almost feels like you're getting picked on when that happens. So tough break there for Colin, but he's got to find a way to compose himself, get back into things, and don't let that get to him because sometimes that can affect players. You get angry and then you start playing poorly. Hopefully that doesn't happen here, but we'll see. Colin is going to use Deluge, put 2 energy onto his Black Kyurem EX. And I guess, okay, now he's going to move his prizes over, give himself a little more real estate to roll that die on. That's weird. I've never actually seen that kind of a ruling before. Normally, if it falls off the table, that's obviously you reflip or re-roll. If it lands in someone else's game, then yeah, you're probably going to have to reflip it. But if it lands on your playmat, that seems a little extreme. Don't want to be too harsh on the judges, but things like that can be like over-judging, and that's when you can really start to interfere with the games, and nobody really likes that. I don't even think the judges like that, but that's where we are. And Colin has stayed asleep here. That flip definitely changed the impact of the game. Changed the impact of the game. That's not a good phrase. Definitely impacted and changed the game. And just like that, I think Colin is going to go down 3 prizes here. But like I said before, this can be a matchup where Blastoise comes back pretty easily. I mean, we see that Black Kyurem EX sitting on the bench. And if the Keldeo goes down this turn, if Mr. Lucas decides to go for that and just take his 2 prizes here, that Black Kyurem's going to come up in Black Ballista for 200, knock out the Mewtwo. And then we're probably going to see Tornadus come up, Power Blast maybe, and then we're going to see another Black Ballista, 2 more prizes, and you can see just how quickly things can turn into, oh, he took 2 prizes, now he only needs 1 more attack to win the game. I was up 3 prizes, but all of a sudden I can lose this game. It doesn't seem to make sense, but that is just how things go. I definitely think if Mr. Lucas has a catcher here, he should go ahead and use it, bring up the Black Kyurem EX, hit it before it can come up and start rampaging all over his Pokemon. You really would like to get a hit in on that thing first. The way it's going to really get you is if... oh, looks like Colin actually cut his own deck there. So you can see he's actually a little flustered there. I don't think that changes anything. He's going to cut Mr. Lucas's deck now. You could say he shuffled his deck a little bit or he rearranged the contents, but there are no effects in play that are really... There's nothing that manipulates his top cards or his deck or anything like that. So his deck is still random, so cutting his deck there is not a big deal. I'm glad that they just decided to ignore that. A penalty there is definitely a bad idea. And there we go. There is an X ball, and then the 30 from the poison will be a knockout. Colin takes a drink, relaxes, and says, all right, got to keep my composure here. And, yeah, he's doing the right thing. He's relaxing. He realizes the situation. And we'll see where he goes from here. If he could, he would like to get rid of that Burbank City gym. We saw Mr. Lucas played a Skyla for Hypnotoxic Laser, so that's definitely coming down next turn. So if he has an N or a Tropical Beach, he would love to have either one of those here. He is going to be able to deluge a bunch of energy onto the Black Kyurem EX. Doesn't look like he has much else, though. And he's going to have to use Black Ballista for 200 discards, Lightning, and 2 Water. So he'll just need one more energy next turn to attack. And yeah, just like that, 2 prizes gone. And, this game is certainly in reach for Colin, no doubt about it. What's going to happen? I mean, like I outlined before, probably a Tornado CX is going to come up. And I actually think Mr. Lucas made a little game plan error here. In this kind of a situation, you would definitely want to attack with Bouffalant instead of the Tornadus EX. He decided to attach a DCE to Tornadus EX the previous turn, and if he would have gone with Bouffalant instead, and he had a laser, he could Goal Breaker for 120, and then plus 30 from the laser. And not only that, Bouffalant only gives up 1 prize. That's the big deal here. He needs to use an attacker that only gives up 1 prize. Force Colin to need 2 catchers in order to win the game in 2 attacks. Because if he has to attack you 3 times, you're probably going to win. We do see a heads on that laser flip, so that could be huge if the Black Kyurem EX stays asleep. But the way Mr. Lucas is kind of going about this, he is definitely giving Colin a chance to win this game. And we do see an energy on the Tornadus EX. We see a Power Blast. It lands outside. Okay, they're at least consistent with this. They're going to make him re-roll. He flips the heads, keeps the energy for the Power Blast, and we'll see if Colin wakes up here. He's going to take 100 plus 30 from the Verbank and Poison, and oh, he wakes up. That is a huge flip. He's probably fist pumping there, going, man, if I would have stayed asleep there, I might have flipped the table, losing 2 of my Pokemon to lasers in this game. That would have been ridiculous. But now, alright, he does put down a Keldeo EX. He just needs 1 energy to Black Ballista for the knockout. We do see a Skyla, so at the very least I can go for an energy retrieval. If he has an energy in hand, it would go for a Juniper. But, I don't know. We'll see what he gets. Looks like he's eyeing up that energy retrieval. That'll let him get 2 basic energy back. He can put 1 on the Black Kyurem and then 1 on the Keldeo EX. He's going to have that attacker ready for next turn. And you can see just how quickly things have turned around. Colin will actually take a prize lead here after Mr. Lucas has taken the first 3. Sure, it's going to be short-lived because Mr. Lucas can just knock out this Black Kyurem EX. But you can see he's going to be at 1 prize. Colin will be at 2 after this exchange all happens. We do see the energy retrieval and a deluge onto the Black Kyurem EX and then onto Keldeo EX. But yeah, you can see the prize count's going to be 2-1 with Colin having a chance to knock out an EX for the win. And there we go. There's a Black Ballista. And the ball's definitely in Colin's court at this point. If he can just, get enough energy into play, as Mr. Lucas drops a Tornadus on the floor. No big deal. But you can see if he just gets the energy, he'll actually end up winning. And even if he, whiffs a turn, Mr. Lucas needs two turns, 2 attacks to pull off a knockout here. That is just the state of the game here. He's going to put up that Tornadus EX with a DCE and blow through for the knockout. Again, I may have just promoted the Bouffalant and passed. Force Colin to have a catcher here to get a knockout on an EX. Or force him to have a catcher to even, target down an EX. The Bouffalant only gives up 1 prize. And, you just want to force your opponent to have more cards to beat you here. Now, Colin, all he needs is 5 energy to win, which, he's only played 1 retrieval to this point, I'm pretty sure. So if he can pull off, like a Juniper and then, 2 retrievals and a water, this game is over in the books. Colin will win this one. Even after losing his initial Keldeo EX to that sleep flip, that was very painful. He was down 3 prizes. He lost to Squirtle. But even with all that, he can still just come back and win. He's going to Ultra Ball here for the Black Kyurem EX. We'll see. I'm not sure what his counts are for attackers in this deck. It looks like he just plays the 2 Keldeo EX and the 2 Black Kyurem EX. I can't tell. Maybe he plays a 3rd Keldeo EX. 2-2 seems to be kind of standard at this point. 2 or 3 Keldeo EX. Normally we see players lean more towards 3, but I've definitely seen 2. I guess we'll find out as the match progresses. It is a best 2 out of 3 match. 60 minutes here. So we'll have another game after this one at the very least. And let's see. We do see Colin has the Juniper. in his hand. He's going to Juniper, draw 7. He needs 4 water energy now. He did deluge one onto the active Keldeo EX. And did he get it? I see 2 waters. I see a retrieval. That means game over. He can even power up Black Kyurem if he wants to Black Ballista for the win. Looks like that's what he's going to do. He's going to grab that Lightning, Deluge 3 times, play the Lightning down, retreat into the Black Kyurem EX, and Black Ballista for 200 damage. And Colin P will win the first game here after, he kind of weathered the storm. He dealt with kind of a fishy ruling. He had to reflip that coin. He got flustered. But at the end of the day, he takes the win. He composes himself. Gotta give him a hand for that one, that's for sure. It's definitely not easy to kind of overcome there. And he did. He just, I don't know what else to say. He kept his composure. Just played the game out, played it intelligently, and he wins the first game. If you're Mr. Lucas, that's got to be kind of demoralizing since, a lot of stuff did go your way. You did miss the turn 1 knockout, that's true, but a lot of other stuff kind of went your way. You kept a Keldeo EX asleep and got kind of 2 free prizes off of that. You knocked out a Squirtle on the second turn, you took a 3-prize lead. And you still lost. That's just kind of how the matchup goes here. The big basic deck really does have a bad matchup against Blastoise if it can set up. The only way this kind of deck is going to win is if he bum rushes Colin early, kind of takes out the Squirtles early on, or takes a big enough prize lead where it doesn't matter, or if Colin misses a couple turns with some Black Ballistas with Black Kyurem EX. That's really the only way that Mr. Lucas is going to be able to win this kind of a matchup, I would think. So we'll see what happens here as these players draw and set up for game number 2. Since Mr. Lucas did lose the first game, he can decide who goes first in the second one, which obviously will be him since there's no drawback to going first. And here we go. We're going to flip over, and it looks like we got a Bouffalant versus a Black Kyurem EX. Here we go. Black Kyurem EX is probably one of Colin's preferred starters. Definitely better than Squirtle. Keldeo might be the best, but at least when you start with Black Kyurem, you can rush in and get rid of the poison in case of this hypnotoxic laser nonsense, which we are seeing here. We see a fighting energy go onto the Bouffalant, and it looks like Mr. Lucas just passed there. I guess so. It looks like he might not have a very good hand, but the Bouffalant is pretty threatening. Turn 2, you can Gold Breaker. Bouffalant is a card that is actually a lot stronger when you go first, because when you get to go first, you really get to use Gold Breaker before your opponent can do anything, especially against Blastoise. This is where it's going to be the best. Since, Blastoise needs a turn, it needs to get down Squirtle, it needs to Rare Candy into Blastoise, and then it can start getting in motion. But when you go first with Bouffalant, you can actually Gold Breaker for 120 to an EX and really put the pressure on. You say, okay, unless you get the things out, unless you get a perfect turn 2 where you go Rare Candy, Blastoise, like 4 energy on a Keldeo EX to Secret Sword me for a knockout, I'm going to take 2 prizes with this one Pokemon that is not even an EX. So you can see how strong Bouffalant is here. We do see Colin Skyla for a computer search. And he discards 2 water energy. He's eyeing up that Tropical Beach. Now you might wonder, why the heck is he not just playing the Skyla for the Tropical Beach? He can just search for it. Well, the reason is he wants to be able to discard more cards so that he can draw more cards with Tropical Beach. So it might seem counterintuitive, but definitely the right move there if you don't have any other cards you can get rid of. You want to be drawing as many cards as possible in the early parts of the game to get yourself a Blastoise into play. So, good move there by Colin. It might seem like not a smart move, but it actually is. Unless, he could play down cards in his hand, then that would be questionable. But I'm going to assume that he really didn't have anything else to play down in his hand, and he needs to draw as many cards as possible. He's going to put down a Water Energy on his Keldeo EX, and then, it looks like he doesn't even have anything else he can play. He's going to Tropical Beach for 5 here. And it'll be Mr. Lucas's turn. And you can just see right here, this is what I'm talking about with the Bouffalant. We're going to see a Hypnotoxic Laser and lands off the play area again. He gets a Heads. And again, this could be huge, keeping that Keldeo X asleep. And we're going to have a Bianca for 4 or 5 here. I can't quite tell. Looks like, whatever. He's going to fill his hand up to 6 no matter what. Gets the Verbank. Uh-oh. And here's where Bouffalant goes to work. He's going to Goal Breaker for 120. Plus 30 from the Verbank and the Poison. And it's going to put the Keldeo X up to 150. Now that means if Colin does not move that Keldeo out of the active spot, he actually gets knocked out by Poison, going back into Mr. Lucas's turn, and that is devastating to lose 2 prizes. And it looks like he did not wake up, but he does get another Keldeo EX. That's big. That way he can rush in with that one, rush back in with the damaged one, because you might as well just sacrifice this one at this point. It's going to be a big target. I guess you could just rush in and take another hit, and if you play Max Potion, that could be a good thing. But I'm actually not sure. You might be better off leaving that one up for dead instead of having 2 heavily damaged Keldeos. That could open up a play for, I guess in a weird situation, it can open up a play for a Landorus EX to double knockout with a Hammerhead. The more likely situation would just be, when you have 2 heavily damaged Keldeos, you can't really tank one with a lot of energy because it's kind of a waste to just get knocked out. But if you have one that gets knocked out and then one with just a ton of energy, then, you can knock out 2 straight EXs with Secret Sword if you get like a 6 energy Keldeo EX. So that is the difference between, it's a difference in philosophy between how you want to go about it. If you want to have 2 damaged Keldeos or 1 knocked out one, you give up the 2 prizes, obviously. But I'm not sure which one is better. Now, we're going to see Colin rush in. We really need to see him get a Squirtle in play this turn. Or 2, ideally. But it doesn't look like he can. And if he cannot get a Squirtle in play this turn, he's got a handful of energy. This is just terrible for him. He's actually going to... This is where you might want to favor having 2 damaged Keldeos, because you can at least power up the other one for an attack. Mr. Lucas does have a catcher in his hand, though, so he might just go ahead and target down the Keldeo EX with the energy. You're probably better off doing that here. Just knock out the thing with the energy. And then Colin doesn't have any Blastoise in play, so you would just end up winning based on him not having anything. He puts down the Mewtwo. We'll see what he does. He has the catcher in his hand. I definitely favor taking the 2 prizes here, taking away all the energy on Colin's field. That seems like the way to go. If he has a laser, he can kind of set up a fancy play with a double knockout with Landorus' Hammerhead, but it looks like he is going to take the 2 prizes there. I definitely agree with that. And we'll see what else he has. He's going to Ultra Ball. Discards a Bianca and a Switch. So if he discards a Bianca, I'm going to assume he has like a Juniper or maybe another Bianca. A Skyla at the very least. Perhaps an N, but you would probably discard the N here because Colin didn't do anything on that turn. He just kind of drew 6 cards, looked at it in disgust, attached, and passed. So no reason to give him a new hand of, potentially getting Squirtles and stuff like that. We'll see what happens, though. Discarding the Switch, I don't know if that'll come back to bite him. He could get stuck in the active spot at some point. And, yeah, there's another Bianca. So he's going to draw 5 cards here. And Colin might be in some trouble here. No, he's definitely in some trouble. He's going to be down 2 prizes. There's no Squirtle in sight, no Blastoise. And it's going to be tough. When the Bouffalant gets to do work like this, it only gives up 1 prize when it's knocked out. And that is huge. You're going to have to knock out 4 Pokemon this game, as opposed to the 3 in the previous one. 1 Bouffalant and 3 EXs, because you cannot ignore this thing. If it's hitting you for 120 every single turn, you're going to lose. There's no way around it. You're just going to lose. You have to deal with this thing. And that's why this card was so powerful before. Bouffalant, it did get a little weakened by Hypnotoxic Laser, but you can definitely see how powerful it is here. Now, Colin is debating, where do I attach this energy? Do I put it? And Mr. Lucas kind of hits his discard pile. Looks like nothing was wrong there, though. And, all right, Colin does get an N, so that's big. He also attaches the lightning to the Black Kyurem EX, so he decides, all right, I'm going to go this route. I feel like Black Ballista is my best way to win still. I cannot load up a Keldeo when there's Mewtwo sitting out there. It just doesn't seem like the way to go. So I need a Black Ballista and start knocking out some EXs here. That's my best way to win. And we'll see what happens. He definitely needs Squirtle this turn. If he doesn't get Squirtle this turn, this game just might be out of reach at this point. We do see a Squirtle. I don't know if that'll be enough, but we do see one. He's going to catch up the Mewtwo to try to buy some time. And if Mr. Lucas does not get a switch or a DCE off his 4 cards, he's going to be stuck up there and not able to attack. We see a rush in. He's going to protect his Black Kyurem EX. And we may see a pass from Colin unless he has another Tropical Beach. You know, Mr. Lucas did counter that Tropical Beach with the Burbank City Gym early on. And it's definitely coming into play here. Think if Colin had Tropical Beach all these turns. If he would have been able to draw until he had 7 in his hand all these times. Just that counter stadium was a big deal. We see an Escape Rope. We do not see this card very often, but it's definitely coming into play here. It's a huge deal. That's going to force Colin to put up the Black Kyurem EX, and basically that Black Kyurem is going to be left for dead. There's no way Colin can attack with this thing anymore. It's just not going to work. It's, I guess if he gets Rare Candy Blastoise 3 energy, he can use a Black Ballista for a knockout. And, you know, he'll get 1 turn out of it. But I don't think that's going to be enough. You know, he really needs to get 2 consecutive attacks up with this thing without it getting knocked out. Otherwise, he's going to be in some trouble. Looks like, he did top deck the Blastoise there, so that is pretty big. We got a Rare Candy into a Blastoise. He has a Juniper as well. Colin is looking like he may start a comeback here. He's going to deluge twice to the active Black Kyurem EX. And here we go. Draw 7. He's going to get another energy here. We'll see if he decides to attach the lightning or the water there. He decides to put the lightning on there. I might have favored putting the lightning instead of the water, because that thing's going to get knocked out. I don't know if you're going to attack with Black Kyurem. You would rather have the water in your hand to power up Keldeo next turn. I mean, ideally you want another Black Kyurem next turn, but you may have to resort to using Keldeo, so might as well give yourself the option to power up a big Secret Sword instead of holding on the lightning there. You can always retrieval for a lightning, but we'll see if that ends up mattering or not, as Colin does take 1 prize on the Bouffalant, as I said earlier. Bouffalant not being an EX is huge. It did so much damage this game. It knocked out a Keldeo, did 120 to a Black Kyurem EX, and it is just gigantic, its impact here. Mr. Lucas does blow through for the knockout there, and now we'll see what can happen. We see 2 energy come down on this Keldeo EX, and retrieval, 2 more energy. We didn't see Mr. Lucas play anything last turn. He did put a fighting on his Mewtwo, so Colin kind of needs to catch up that Mewtwo and knock it out. And he has the catcher. He's going to bring out that Mewtwo. He's going to be able to Secret Sword for 170. Then Mr. Lucas is just going to be left with that Tornadus EX with the DCE. I don't know, guys. Is Mr. Lucas going to be able to survive here? We see Secret Sword for 170. Mr. Lucas, he's counting energy. What's coming? He throws down a Mewtwo. And a fighting, I don't even think he's drawn a card yet. Scramble Switch. Oh, baby, there it goes. Scramble Switch moves the double colorless up to the Mewtwo, and we have an X-Ball for 180 damage. 9 energy combined between the 2 of them. And that was definitely a surprise. Did not see that one coming. I thought Mr. Lucas might have struggled to close that game out there. But nope, Scramble Switch comes in, and that is the power of that card, man. That is why people prefer that card in this kind of a deck. Just being able to slam down that Scramble Switch and rearrange your energy just like that, that won him the game for sure. I don't know if he would have lost if he didn't have it, but it definitely was a game winner there. And that provided some excitement, that's for sure, as we head into the 3rd and final game in the top 4 of the Wisconsin State Championship. Of course, the winner of this match will move on to the finals, where you have a chance to win $300 to go to U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis in July. You get a 1-round bye at the tournament as well, which is huge. That's something we forget about a lot. When you win this tournament, you get a bye in the first round at U.S. Nationals. That's huge. You also get, I think you get a box of Plasma Storm, and of course, 100 championship points to go towards an invitation to the World Championship. So a lot is on the line here in this match, an opportunity to be crowned the Wisconsin State Champion. Colin, I don't want to say he's a newer player. He used to play a long time ago. He just kind of came back to the game, I think in 2010 or 2009, one of those years. He has not had any major success yet, no state championship wins, so he would love to be able to get that on his resume. Mr. Lucas, he has been playing since, the dawn of the game. He's been playing since base set, and he does have a state championship win in 2007. He took me out at the Illinois State Championship on his path to being crowned the Illinois State Champion. So he's got a big tournament win under his belt. He's looking for another one, and Colin looking for his first real one. Looks like my playmats are getting in the way. Sorry, guys. Adam Vernola actually put out that old school playmat. I just put our playmats out there as kind of placeholders for the camera, so the players know where they can put their cards. Plus, they look cool, I think. So, we're getting shuffled up for game number 3 here. Colin will cut Mr. Lucas's deck. Looks like, yep, we're going to have a cut there. And here we go. A little struggle there, but no big deal. Drawn 7 cards here for both players. We'll see if they get a basic. And we'll get started here for game number 3. The final and deciding game here between these two guys. Now, Colin, of course, lost game number 2, so he can go first here in this third game. Looks like Mr. Lucas is ignoring in the playmat and just kind of putting his prizes wherever he feels like. I'll keep track of them for you guys, though. We do have a Keldeo start for Colin and a Squirtle on the bench. We have an Ultra Ball, and we'll see what happens here. I think at this point he's determined that Mr. Lucas does not play any tools, so he safely discards that Tool Scrapper. He doesn't play Garbodor either, so no need to keep that in your hand. Might as well just discard that with Ultra Ball. He'll probably grab another Squirtle here, since Tornadus EX is always a threat to get a blow through on the first turn and knock out a Squirtle. So you need to be wary of that. He's going to search through his deck, see if anything is prized. Always a good thing to do on the first turn. Check what's in there. Probably the main thing he's going to check for are Squirtles, Blastoise, and how many Keldeos and Black Kyurem EXs are in there. And after he does that, he'll probably... I would assume he's got a supporter, and yep, looks like we got a Skyla. I'm going to think this is for Tropical Beach, so he can fill up his hand on this first turn, and that is exactly what it's for. Tropical Beach, it's a pretty difficult to get card. It's probably the most expensive card we have in the game right now, because it was only given to players who qualified for the World Championships. Of course, there are some stat versions as well, but it's a very rare card, very difficult to get, and it's a very good card. A lot of players have complained about that since it's so difficult to get, and it really makes a deck like Blastoise viable, just because on the first turn you need to be drawing so many cards, and you can see it coming into play there. Now we see a Fighting go on the Tornadus EX. I'm not sure if I like Mr. Lucas dropping that Fighting before the end. It takes away his option to draw a DCE off of this, and if he can put on some pressure turn 1 with a blow through, that really is what makes Tornadus EX so powerful. And you got to think, why would he sacrifice his option to do 60 turn 1, perhaps knock out a Squirtle with a catcher, or at least do 60 turn 1? I guess he wants to make sure he gets an energy attachment this turn, but I think you just kind of take the risk here since you are playing second in this game. You want to be able to drop a DCE this turn, and at the very least you got to expect to draw Fighting off of this. And it looks like he's going to pass the turn. He forgot to Tropical Beach. That's something a lot of players do as well. Since we don't see Tropical Beach too often, it's not a commonly seen card. Some players will forget to use it sometimes when it's in play. And it looks like that's what we saw there. Looks like Colin does not have a very good hand, though. He's got a Blastoise, a bunch of Waters, some Retrievals. He's just missing the Rare Candy, and he could explode here. So he's going to Tropical Beach. And hopefully he can top tick a Rare Candy. If he can, this hand is ridiculously good. A ton of water energy and a Juniper and a rare candy into a Blastoise. If he does not draw rare candy, though, this is a horrible hand. Oh my goodness. Looks like 2 Blastoises, a ton of waters, some retrievals. You're going to run out of steam if you have to Juniper all that stuff away. But what choice would he have here? I don't really know. We're going to see a Skyla from Mr. Lucas. I don't know what he's going to go for. He could grab a catcher, since we saw Colin not rare candy into Blastoise this turn. Catcher actually seems like the best way to go. He's going to go for the Verbank instead to get rid of Colin's Tropical Beach. Maybe play a Laser this turn. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I would probably take a catcher here, knowing Colin's hand is not very strong. We'll see if Mr. Lucas does have the catcher. Maybe he's just grabbing the Verbank to, take away the option for Colin to use Tropical Beach, since we've seen how important that has been in these games so far. When Colin has not had the option to draw extra cards with the Beach, he's kind of stuttered out at some points, sputtered out. We do have a catcher. Mr. Lucas tried to bench his Verbank City Gym. That doesn't exactly work like that. But yeah, he does play the catcher here. I'm not sure why he wouldn't play the Verbank. Yep, he's definitely going to play that. Get rid of that Tropical Beach. Take away Colin's draw here. And he's going to knock out the Squirtle. This is putting a ton of pressure on Colin to top deck here. And no, we do not see that rare candy. So he's going to have to come to a tough decision here. Do I Juniper away my hand with all of this stuff? 2 Blastoises, 3 energy, and energy retrieval. Can you Juniper this away and still win? I don't actually know. That's a lot of stuff to get rid of. But he's deciding, if I don't do this, my Squirtle just gets knocked out and I could lose just like that, not getting Blastoise into play. I have to do this. He's going to Juniper for 7, discarding 2 Blastoises, 3 energy, and energy retrieval. Oh, no. And I don't know if this is going to work out for Colin here. The odds of him getting a rare candy and a Blastoise are so low now, since he discarded 2. Most players play 3 Blastoises. He does play Super Rod, so there's that. He'll be able to shuffle in. Looks like he's going to shuffle in 2 Blastoises here. I feel like that's kind of overkill. You should probably just put in some energy at this point, since you discarded so many. I don't know if I like that. You're going to shuffle in 2 Blastoises and a Squirtle. He recognizes the need to get Blastoise into play. Maybe he has one prized, and that's why he did that. But I definitely think in this situation you need to be aware of your energy situation that you've discarded, for it right now after the Ultra Ball. And you're going to be in some trouble if you don't have energy, obviously, to attack the rest of the game. So I don't know if that's the right move there. I mean, if he Super Rods in, say, like, just a Blastoise and then, like, 2 Waters, I kind of like that better. You still give yourself the Blastoise, but you also give yourself some energy, some fuel to work with as the game progresses. Looks like the prize counter I have not updated, so my bad on that one. 5 prizes to 6 here in the 3rd game of the top 4 here at the Wisconsin State Championship. Just so much action going on that I forgot to update this. And we see a Scramble switch here. This is a very aggressive move from Mr. Lucas, that is for sure. I don't know if I like this very much. He's playing the Laser. He's getting a Gold Breaker this turn for a ton of damage with the Laser as well. But look at what he's kind of doing to himself. He put all his eggs in one basket, that's for sure. And I mean, it's a very strong play if Colin cannot follow up this next turn with a knockout on the Bouffalant. But if he can, say he gets the rare candy, the Blastoise, 2 Water, Sacred Swords, the Bouffalant for the knockout, Mr. Lucas is down to no energy in play. That is not very good. So this is kind of a do-or-die turn for Colin now. Can he pull off a rare candy, Blastoise, and a 4th energy this turn? This Juniper can decide the game. Oh man, there's so much on the line on this Juniper here. Does he pull it off? Rare candy, Blastoise, yes. Does he have a Water as well? He's going to need it. He's going to rush in with his Keldeo EX. He's doing 90 right now because of Bouffalant's Boofer ability. So he needs one more water energy for the knockout. And if he does, I think he's actually kind of weathered the storm here, and he's going to be okay. There's 3 energy gone from the Bouffalant at that point. That is huge. It looks like he does have the water in his hand. He definitely needs to play that on the active Keldeo. There's no reason not to. You definitely need to take the knockout. Unless you forget about Boofer, that would be the only reason why you wouldn't deluge here. He's going to deluge onto the Keldeo EX. He's going to play the Lightning. I actually don't think he's allowed to do that because he attached before the Juniper. Looks like one might have slipped by there. You're so used to having Blastoise in play, being able to deluge all your waters all the time, that this kind of stuff can happen. I don't know if this will end up making a difference, but that Lightning shouldn't be there. Hopefully it doesn't make a difference, because that'd be unfortunate. But hey, this stuff happens in tournaments more often than we like to admit. Little things slip by all the time, especially when you're playing for so long in the day. These tournaments run so late. You probably didn't get much sleep the night before. You drove here early in the morning. Little things like this even slip by the judges sometimes. So, I don't know. As long as Mr. Lucas doesn't play an N, this won't end up mattering at all. So, and just as I say that, look, there's an N in his hand. Oh, man. Oh, well. That's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things. But, oh, well. Mr. Lucas is going to promote his Mewtwo here. And if he can pull off like a DCE and then maybe a laser, that could be big. That could put 150 on both Keldeos and kind of set up a play where he could actually hammerhead with Landorus EX and take 4 prizes at once. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's going to drop this laser. The sleep flip is irrelevant because you can just rush in twice. And ooh, he tosses down an N. So we're going to just kind of sweep that lightning attachment under the rug there. We'll just say Colin deluged twice. Okay, guys? Don't mention it. Anyway, now both players are going to shuffle in and draw 5 cards. We'll have to see what Mr. Lucas gets here. Obviously, he's under a bit of pressure here, but he's got to feel okay knowing that Colin, he discarded so much energy already in this game. And I think he's discarded an energy retrieval or 2. 4 energy are gone. As someone bumps into the camera. No big deal. Didn't move anything. But, yeah, Colin might just run out of energy in this game. That is definitely something that can happen. It doesn't happen too often with Blastoise, but it certainly can happen. Especially when you're discarding so many with Black Ballista, with Black Kyurem EX. I guess we're going to see an X-Ball, and then with the 30 from Poison and Verbank as well. That will be 150 damage. And like I said before, they can set up a play with Landorus' Hammerhead, and he does bench the Landorus. That might be a little preemptive, but if he doesn't have a switch, he may have to do that here. We got a sleep flip, but I don't think that'll matter. Like I said, rush in with Keldeo will negate that status effect no matter what. And now, what does Colin do here? What is his plan of action here? I think if he has a catcher, he definitely should go for the Landorus. Take away that Hammerhead option. You know, he'll be able to... It's weak to water, so you don't even have to attach extra energy here. And that's the big thing. You don't want to have to attach extra energy when you've lost so many already. When you've lost your retrieval, when you've lost like 3 or 4 energy to Junipers early on, you just want to be able to... use as few energy as possible to take knockouts. But it looks like he's going to Juniper, or he's going to Ultra Ball, discarding a catcher here. And he's going to get another Black Kyurem EX. I don't like this move very much. He's going to end. I definitely would have just catchered out the Landorus here. Take that thing out. Just rush in twice. Get rid of the poison. You don't have to attach any additional energy here. Where, I mean, you're kind of... If you leave that Landorus sitting there, and you Black Ballista for a knockout, it's kind of the same thing as before, where Mr. Lucas committed all his energy to the Bouffalant with the Scramble switch. I mean, if you knock out Mewtwo this turn with Black Ballista, looks like that's the direction Colin is looking to go. He's going to have to discard 3. And then he's going to be left with 1 energy in play. Then Landorus is, because, Landorus is going to come up, he's going to Hammerhead for a knockout on at least 1 Keldeo, maybe 2 if he has a catcher. And, you have to discard 3 energy. You're going to have, you're going to have 1 left in play. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. And you may just run out. You're going to lose your Keldeos too, which it will, if your Blastoise gets catchered up and you don't have a Keldeo to rush in, Blastoise 6 don't play switch because you can just rush in. This is a huge turn here. Oh man, Colin has kind of opened the door here for Mr. Lucas. I don't know if Mr. Lucas doesn't have a catcher here, this actually doesn't end up mattering, but uh-oh, there's the catcher. Now he needs a fighting here to Hammerhead. If he can do it, he'll do 30 and 30, knock out both Keldeos here. And this will change the game completely. I don't know if Colin can recover if Mr. Lucas does this here. And does he have the fighting? He's got a supporter. It might be a Bianca. This has been his card of choice in the deck. And we'll see if Bianca saves him once again. Looks like he's got 2 different supporters, and he's kind of debating which one to play. He's going to go with the Bianca. Going to go with his girl. And draw 4 cards. Does he get the fighting? Looks like... yeah, he got it. Uh-oh. And he's going to take a 4-prize turn here, going on to 1 prize. And boom, knock out 2 Keldeos at once. A 4-prize Hammerhead. We don't see that very often. And now Colin, he's going to rare candy to Blastoise here. He's doing everything very quickly. If I were him, I might actually take a different route here. It depends on whether or not he has Keldeo EX left in his deck. He's going to Retrieval and get back 2 Waters, Deluge twice onto the Black Kyurem EX, and he's going to Retrieval again. And he's definitely going to be able to Black Ballista this turn. He's getting very excited here. Maybe playing out this turn too quickly. Because what's going to happen here is he can Black Ballista for 200, sure. He'll get the knockout. And he'll go down to 1 prize. But if Mr. Lucas has a catcher, what do? Your Blastoise comes out, and it's got a 4 retreat cost. Hydro Pump costs 4. It's not going to be a knockout if you attack. So this seems a little risky. He's committing too many energy to the Black Kyurem EX, I believe. If Mr. Lucas has a catcher here, and he top decks it, uh-oh, Blastoise is coming out. If Colin had just attacked with Blastoise instead that turn, I think that would have been the better option, to be completely honest. Use those 4 energy to Hydro Pump, knock out the Landorus EX for 200, and don't rare candy the other Blastoise. I think he ends up possibly winning here. But now you got to think, what can he do? There's a laser and a Verbank as well, and then Blastoise goes to sleep. Mr. Lucas, he's just turned this game around big time. The 4-prize Hammerhead, the laser and the Verbank, catches out the Blastoise. He's got everything, folks. And if Colin doesn't have enough energy in his deck to retreat and use Black Ballista, he's done. The game is over. Mr. Lucas has 1 prize. This is just game over. And you can see he might be thinking at this point, uh-oh, maybe I overextended a little bit here. And you can see these little things are adding up in this game. Junipering away the big hand at the beginning, you can't do anything about that. But choosing not to catch the Landorus, that's going to add up. That's, I think 4 energy you just lose for no reason. Maybe 3 or 4 energy, depending how you look at it. You kind of lose for no reason. And now it comes down to this. Does Colin have 5 energy left to attack and win the game? He needs 4 to retreat the Blastoise and 1 to attack with the Black Kyurem EX. If he has 5 left, he can win. If there are less than 5 left, he would need 3 if he has a Keldeo EX left. So he can rush in, drop 2, retreat, and then Black Ballista for the game. If he has 3 in a Keldeo, he can still win. If he has 5, he can still win. If he somehow plays a switch, he can also still win. But if, I'm thinking he only plays 2 Keldeo EX. If there's only, if there's not at least 5 energy left in his deck, he will lose this game. And Mr. Lucas will pull off an improbable win in his hardest matchup. And his magical run here will continue. And he will advance to the finals. He actually gets up. This has a feeling like a poker tournament where, people go all in. They flip their cards up. And we just wait and see what happens here. And Colin is counting how many energy he has left in his deck. And that's 3 retrievals gone. 2 lightning gone. There's 1 lightning on the Black Kyurem EX, 2 waters on the Black Kyurem EX. That's a ton of water in his discard pile. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 energy there. 4, 8, 10, 12, 13. There's 15 on his board. 1 retrieval remaining. He used his super rod earlier as well. He might not have enough. He might run out of steam here. And we might just see Mr. Lucas steal a win here in the craziest way possible. Just stranding up a Blastoise. Is this going to happen, folks? What will Colin do next? He appears to have an energy retrieval in his hand. You got to think, if at any point, if he had conserved maybe 3 energy somewhere along the way, he would have this game wrapped up, because he does have an energy retrieval left. And it looks like he's got probably a Juniper as well. I can't really tell. He's got a ton of cards in his hand. Man, this is just showing you in Pokemon the littlest things can matter. It can all come down to 1 energy, and Mr. Lucas has to come back when Colin catches up to Bouffalant. And you got to think Mr. Lucas is very excited, since Colin is taking so long here, that he just might not have a way out. We got an energy retrieval for 2 waters. Does he have any more? There are none in his hand. And this is getting very close. You also got to think, if he didn't attach those 2 extra energy prematurely to the Black Kyurem EX, he could have had 4 to use Hydro Pump with Blastoise. And even though it doesn't get a knockout, it gives him an attacking option at least. And if he has an N in his hand, he can end Mr. Lucas down to 1. And just kind of say, alright, if you don't have a way to retreat your Bouffalant, I win. But instead, he's got nothing. He does have an N. He could have had that option too. But it looks like he is all out of luck here. He looked through his deck. We saw there are no energy left. And we have a Juniper. It's the moment of truth. And no! That's it. He's at energy. He can't do anything. He extends his hand. And Mr. Lucas, Richard will move on to the finals here. What an incredible series that was, coming down to every last resource there. An incredible series, no doubt about it. Got to give props to Mr. Lucas for, setting up some great plays there. He's just kind of goldfishing here to see whether or not he would have been able to pull something off here. But wow, the 4-prize Hammerhead, the Scramble switch in game number 2. He's definitely pulling out some scrappy moves here to pull off this series here, and congratulations to Richard Lucas. He is moving on to the finals here at the Wisconsin State Championship, and it's kind of a feel-good story. This guy has been playing forever. He's been kind of a mainstay in the community, and congrats. Definitely that. Colin played well. Some little mistakes there at the end, but don't get yourself down about it. I mean, great performance, and it's going to add to your tournament experience, that's for sure. So thanks for watching, guys. I'm Pooka here from the Top Cut. We'll have the finals soon. Stay tuned. Be right back.